Hello and welcome to this video. This video is intended for students in Applied Math 40S who are taking their logical reasoning unit. And in this video we're going to look briefly at conditional statements, what they are and how to write their converse, their inverse, and the contrapositive of those statements. You can see, let's stick on the first slide, a conditional statement is any statement that's in the form if something then something else. That if-then pairing is what indicates that you're dealing with a conditional statement. The first part of the conditional statement after the if is called the hypothesis, or P, and the second part is called the conclusion, or Q. So we're going to deal with this conditional statement in the form if P then Q. If a triangle has three sides that are the same length, shown here, then it is an equilateral triangle. So that's true, although we're not going to deal with the truth of conditional statements in this video. We're just going to look at writing the converse, inverse, and contrapositive. So let's take a look at this. So if a triangle has three sides, so if you're talking about a three-sided triangle, right, that has all sides the same length, that's your P, your hypothesis, then it is an equilateral triangle is the Q, or the conclusion. So you will be asked, you'll be given a conditional statement, and you'll be asked to write the converse, the inverse, and the contrapositive of that statement. So let's take a look at all three. The converse of a conditional statement is taking the initial conditional statement, which I've got written here, and writing it in the form if Q, then P. So you're taking your hypothesis and your conclusion and you are reversing them. So if I take this statement that I've got right here, and I'm just going to copy it. Okay, this is the initial statement. I'm going to take that statement and I am going to change it to be the converse. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse the hypothesis and the conclusion. So I'm going to say if a triangle is an equilateral triangle, triangle, then it has three sides that are the same length. So there's my initial statement here. I'm going to cross it out so we don't get confused. Here is the converse. I just reversed my P and my Q. Now, sometimes grammar can play a little part in this. You have to be a little bit careful maybe of your phrasing. Okay, but it's the idea that you're trying to reverse. If you're looking at an equilateral triangle, then it has three sides that are the same length. If you want to do the inverse, you keep the P and the Q in the same order, your hypothesis and your conclusion, but you negate both of those statements. So again, I'm just going to copy my initial statement here, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to edit it to be the inverse. Oop, wrong thing. So if a triangle, I want to negate both the hypothesis and the conclusion. So if a triangle does not have three sides that are the same length, then it is not an equilateral triangle. Negating both the hypothesis and the conclusion gives me the inverse of the conditional statement. So my inverse is shown here. And again, sometimes the wording, you might have to play with the wording a little bit or play with the grammar, but it's the idea that you're negating both the hypothesis and the conclusion. My final type of statement that I can make for my initial conditional statement is the contrapositive. The contrapositive does both what the converse and the inverse do it reverses the hypothesis and conclusion and then negates both the hypothesis and the conclusion. So if I'm going to do that, here's my initial statement again. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to edit this so that I'm both reversing the hypothesis and conclusion and negating them. So I'm going to say if a triangle is not an equilateral triangle, then it does not have three sides the same length. So you can see my contrapositive flopped my hypothesis and conclusion and negated both of them at the same time. So this was my initial statement. This is the contrapositive. So that is writing the inverse, converse, sorry, I'll do it in order, the converse, the inverse, and the contrapositive of any conditional statement. Just do what I did there, using your hypothesis and your conclusion from whatever conditional statement you're looking at. I hope that helps you a little bit. Thanks for watching the video.